Hi guys. I thought I'd do a quick video on what actually gave me a big shift. How I ended up really on this pathway of where I am today. It happened back in the year 2000, and what actually happened was I got RSI in my arm, and right up until that point of my life, my entire identity had been built around becoming a hairdresser. My core identity as a person, what I seen within myself as who Nick was, and a lot of my self-belief, my self-worth was built around my career and me going out and partying and my social circle. At the time, I was engaged to somebody which was a really nice person. We used to live quite a good life. Her family were quite wealthy, and I lived in like a penthouse apartment in Holland Park. The majority of my wages was my own. I bought myself a motorbike, passed my bike test. Just as I passed my bike test and I bought this bike, which was just around about the year 2000, I've been working really hard. I'm working in Tony & Guy in Mayfair, doing really, really well for myself. This is tough to talk about. And I woke up on New Year's Day after quite a heavy night out the night before, and I had to go to hospital because I thought I'd had a stroke. And I hadn't actually had a stroke, but all of my arm and my fingers had gone into this kind of spasm. Now, I'd had a lot of tension in my neck and my back for a while. I'd had a lot of pain in my arm, and I was ignoring it. I was ignoring my health. I was pushing myself. I was going out, partying. I was not going to the gym and training so much. I was carrying quite a lot of stress and worry at the time. And when I woke up on New Year's Day with my fingers like that, I went to the hospital. They didn't know what was wrong with me. So they ran some tests. They said I hadn't had a stroke. And after that, then I discovered that I maybe pulled some muscles. So I kind of was ordered to just rest it for a week or two. In the process of this, I just signed a loan for my motorbike. So my brand new motorbike was sat in the showroom. I had been waiting for me to pick it up. It was a Africa Twin XRV, like desert racing bike. It was amazing. And in the process of that, I went to pick up this bike, and my arm was killing me, but I managed to just about ride my bike because I was able to use my fingers a little bit. And here's the dogs. And basically, they gave me the bike, and I put on my new bike gear on and rode my bike out to the showroom, got it home, went for a little ride on it that afternoon, and it was so painful on my hand. And I went back to work, and I was working for another month or two with my hand like it was, and then my arm completely went. And I went to go to the doctors, and the doctor told me I had RSI, which is like tennis elbow repetitive stress injury to do with my fingers and my hand, and that's why I had the operation done now. I was in a lot of pain, some of the worst pain I've ever been in. I've broken bones, and this was like, kept me awake at night. I was in absolute agony. Come on, Jack, you can sit up here. You're a good boy. And basically, they told me that my hairdressing career was over. So my entire identity from building myself up to think I was a hairdresser, buying my first ever motorbike, thinking my life was on track, Tony Guy Mayfair, working with dream hairdressers. I was group 2 in the art team. I was destined to get onto the art team and do really well. And all because of my lifestyle and the bad choices I made, I fucked my health up. Excuse my French. I was responsible for that. And I did a lot of deep soul searching. I started reading a lot more Buddhism, meditation, philosophy, and had to come to terms with the damage I'd actually done to myself. And it took me about a year or so before no joking, it took about a year of me trying to go back to my job, but I couldn't go back. At the end of all of that, my relationship breaking down, becoming homeless. I managed to get back into my job. I was doing reception work instead of actually working as a hairdresser. I thought my arm had got better. I just started to get my arm kind of where I wanted it to be. So I decided that it should be okay. I got given the okay by physiotherapy just to take it easy, to pace myself. Went back into my job and my arm flared up again. In the midst of that, I got on a TV show called, what the hell is that called now? Oh, I can't even remember it. It'll come to me in a minute. And basically, through that, it was like a dating show where I ended up being the guy that was picked for this girl, didn't work out with her. All of this stuff was going on in my life, and constantly kind of things going on. I had a motorbike accident, crushed my ribs, wrote my bike off at the time. Got the money for that. I met this girl, ended up going across America, trying to find myself. Went from Miami to Los Angeles in a car, and then came back to the UK, broke, no money, no job. Did dispatch riding. In the middle of dispatch riding, I had to did a lot of soul searching. I couldn't get back into my job. Started working back in hairdressing. My arm was a lot better by this point. Just managed to keep a career together up until 2007. And since then, I've been traveling and doing stuff, and just done this education job where I've been doing development and helping people. And in all the midst of this, my identity was tested, because my career and everything I built myself up on was pulled from underneath my feet. And I had to kind of think, who is Nick? Who is Nick? And fundamentally, how can I rebuild him? See, my core belief of who I was completely and utterly shattered. And I had nothing to believe in anymore. And then I had to learn a new level of self-belief. So that became my spiritual journey, my consciousness journey, my who am I, who do I deserve to be, who do I deserve to help, how can I help myself, And I managed to save enough money just before Anna, my wife, my present wife, who I'm married to now, she moved over to the UK. And I saved enough money, and I remember I saved for a couple of months, managed to get myself on my feet, and I got myself a studio apartment in Catford. And I remember after all of this chaos of me going through breakups, relationships, living with friends, not living with friends, being homeless, losing my motorbike, and so on and so forth, doing dispatch riding, getting a job in Tony Guy in Clapham Junction, getting myself back on my feet and really establishing myself and rebuilding my self-confidence in who I was and my self-worth. I moved into this place, and I remember crying on that first night, because the first time I'd actually felt safe for a long time. I had my own place. I was so proud of myself. I saved the money, and my mum drove with my auntie all the way from Wales and dropped off a mattress and a load of my belongings, which I had. And I remember feeling really lonely, but kind of a good lonely for the first time. And from there, I ended up getting married, and my wife moved over, and my life completely moved forward to another great level. So all of this was my life story, how I learned so much about myself, how I could actually be, through my own experiences, through everything I went through, how I can offer my knowledge and my experience of how I got myself back on my feet. And I needed to learn to find a language of explaining what I went through. And that's why I've recently done my life coaching, qualification. And finding a way of helping and developing other people. And this is a really good place I'm at right now. I've never been in a better place, to be honest with you. This to me is where I've always wanted to be, is standing on my own feet, our own ground, Now I've got my last few days working for my company now. What's the date? It's now the 29th, the last few days officially working for my company. And I'm really excited. I'm excited because my future, what it entails for me. Doing life coaching, personal development, hairdressing education, whatever I have to do. I can DJ, I can do so many different things, but I want to concentrate my core effort in this one area. So I hope this explains a little bit more and answers a few questions that people have asked me about who I am, where I come from, people who know this story. I could go in greater detail, and I'm quite willing to be really honest if anybody wants to ask me some questions about this. But really what I want to say to you is, if I can turn my life around, even though I've got it, just in the process of this as well, finding out I got ADHD and getting myself diagnosed, and that's another whole story as well, and then understanding what that means and how I can make sense of that as well, how that's affected all of my life up until the point, and taking responsibility for that. So this is what I wanted to say. If when someone asks me the type of people I can help, maybe the type of people with the same type of problems that I had, same type of people maybe have a child, or they think they have ADHD, or they have depression, they've had problems, panic attacks, stress disorders. I've been through all of these, lack of self-belief, lack of self-worth, low self-esteem. These are all things I've been through, and I've come to gain quite a good bit of knowledge of how you can actually have a great way of attacking these things. So I hope this really, really does clear a lot of things up for a lot of people. And like I said, if anybody's interested in doing some life coaching, just give me a shout. I'm here. Have an amazing day. This is Namaste Nick signing out, and I'll speak to you later. Bye-bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It means a lot to me.